How do I cut features smartly without feeling like I'm taking away something from my game? Am I ever going to be able to make the game I want to make in my life? If I make a smaller game, won't that mean that people are going to see it as a cheap game and no one's going to want to play it? Those and many other questions are what I got after giving my talk a couple of days ago at Indie Treff in Hamburg, where I talked about how to build a sustainable studio using a strategy based on shipping often. Most of these questions came from the struggle of people understanding that they want to make games for life with their passion, but not how to do that if they think they had to sacrifice too much. I answer these questions trying to making them understand that the passion is always going to be there. And if they do things correctly, they will be able to make all the games they want and as big as they want to make them. Take a look at this. Maybe some of these questions might help you. Now we have some time for questions. You guys can follow me on my social, especially on LinkedIn is where I post most of these ideas. And if you want the slides, you can go to the gamecreatorsframework.com/resources and you can get the same slides I just presented. Any questions?
Yeah, I was wondering if you have this master plan and you release one game after the next over a long time. You build up quite a backlog of bug fixes or patches or player feedback you would have to implement, no? So I was wondering how you balance that time-wise or production-wise.
Well, if you, as I said, if you in the process, you start the next game when you're already in the full production of the previous game, you already have most of the bugs, most of the features, and most of the ideas in your pipeline. So you understand exactly what you need to do to finish that, and you can organize the start of the next game. So it's all a matter of organization. Any other question? Over there, yes, thank you.
Hi there. You mentioned cutting smarter or like scope ideas. There was something that I kept in my mind. How do you do that?
Yeah, as I said, the idea is to understand what is the core vision that the players understand and what they like of the game. And once you identify that, know that everything that's around that idea is the most important thing that your game needs to have. Everything else might be a nice to have. So depending on the time you have, the time you want to invest in the game, you decide what comes in and what not. And if there's anything that time wise doesn't make sense, but you really want to have, you can always add it to a nice to have, a list. So that even gives motivation to the team to finish faster the rest of the game so they can make it to have this other feature in. And if it doesn't make it on time, at least you still deliver the game and you don't make it take longer. That will be it. Yep, we have over here one.
I just wanted to. Oh, then she lost it from me.
Okay. Okay.
So one thing you mentioned, if a game feels too small, bring it out to the core. What's with certain situations where you already know what to do and you just need enough time and resources to finish up the levels you wanted to implement? Is this something where it's cut to the core or just endure?
Well, that depends. As I said, if you're testing enough and you know what the player likes, what the player needs, then you have to decide and see how long that game is going to be. And if the case is that regardless of the cuts and everything, you know the game needs to be bigger, then you have to decide what you're going to do about it. But then you might not be able to be sustainable in the beginning because you might need help. So then probably you have to transform the game into something else that still keeps that same idea, that is a bit smaller, and later you can make the bigger version. That's not going to change anything. That's not going to change how people are going to perceive the new game or anything. That's a problem a lot of people think of. That's just going to make it so you can be sustainable. Otherwise, you will have to be in this wheel of asking publishers and people for money all the time.
It's the damn thing that can't make the game you actually want to.
You can always make the game you actually want to make, just it might take longer. Maybe you have to start with smaller versions, smaller games, and once you're sustainable and you have all the money you need from yourself, you can make any game you want. Just might need some more time.
Makes sense.
Welcome. But I think she got the question now.
So you mentioned the nice to have. I was just wondering, are you ever doing like DLCs or updates for the games with those lists, or are they just for another game?
That depends on how the game does. So if once you release the game, it has a lot of traction, players are playing the game a lot, and your Discord channel, your Steam page, you see people asking for more, and you know what you can deliver, then it makes sense to make a DLC. Otherwise, it's probably better to just implement your ideas in another game and test them to see if people like them.
Makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
So you mentioned how content can be cut to publish more frequently, but then my question is, how do you publish games that are not considered shovelware and just there to fill the store page and release like once every 2 weeks? How do you consider that?
This is where the idea of deepen the core and polishing the core is very important, because making the game smaller should not mean that it's just going to be some unpolished game. The opposite. The idea is, instead of having a ton of different mechanics, you focus on one and you polish it to the core. That's never going to make the game look like a cheap version of something else. It's going to make it look as its own thing, even if it's small or it's big. You can always achieve that.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. We're there.
Hello. You mentioned the for sustainable game studio. It was like you were talking about that a studio has some kind of theme, like for having like a game every 6 months or something like that. Would you have any advice how to set that theme for a studio?
Well, it depends on what you like. Doesn't need to be that you're checking and doing exactly what other people are doing. You can do any kind of game you want. The most important thing is that you understand how much available resources you have and what you can actually achieve with what you have. If your only time is half the time because you have a part-time job, and then you have to understand how much it's going to take you with that part-time job to finish your first game, and then you can continue with that. And the thing can be anything, as long as you keep the scope in a size where you can finish it yourself. So it really doesn't matter. Just you can always follow your heart, do whatever you want as a game, and continue making games for your life.
Okay, you would also say if you change your genres very drastically, it would be still fine if it's like I don't know how to explain it in English. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But if there is a huge change in genres, for example, then you have like one community for a strategy game and then for a cozy game. Would it be very like
Well, that's not really a big problem. For example, you have examples like Strange Scuffle games. Each of their games are completely different one from the other. People still like the different kind of games, and there's people that are fans of different kind of games, and others are just fans of one specific one. But you can still learn from that and kind of use other things from the learnings instead of just the community itself. Some part of the community you're going to be able to get, but the knowledge you gain from that, the understanding of how production works to help you make the next game, that all you can bring to the next game. instead of just bringing your audience. You will have to build your audience a bit from scratch, but it's still possible. The important thing is to understand that you can make and release games as often as possible. You have one over here.
Yeah, I think we should do these like a two ask questions and
Okay.
on to the next pop up there.
Right. I was just wondering because your first game came out and it seems like a success, right? Like it came out and people loved it and it got awards and stuff like that. And is this kind of like, what do you feel is the difference between the team you had there? Were you limited in scope because you knew your boundaries with what you had to make at the beginning? Or are these learnings from the failure of trying, these are the learnings from the failure of trying to make the second one, but what you feel is like the key philosophy, like if you had to sum it up between the first one, because we made a game and we were told, oh yeah, he made art, but you didn't make commercial art. And do you feel like, did you feel like you made art the first time?
We did.
Yeah.
Because again, we follow our heart. We made a game that we just wanted to make, and then we follow the procedure. That's show the game to as many people as you can, and then see what they like, what they don't, and then polish around that. So first our idea, then just the players and everyone, what they say and what they do. The only thing there to keep in mind is not to be like in this position where every single thing that they tell you, you just have an excuse to counter it and you don't change anything. That's the most difficult part. But if you manage to pass through that and understand, okay, if players are liking this, I'm gonna change the game, maybe not exactly the way I wanted it, but that's gonna allow me to make more games because people are gonna like it more, and it's still something that I did and it started with my idea. Then why not? And that's basically part of the philosophy. Yes. Welcome. So we have one more.
Yeah, last question.
Sure.
Thanks for your help. I have a question about you. They're
Sure.
wondering, you made your first game, it was a success, then you mentioned the second studio having to close it. What's your game dev path now? What are you working on and with what team?
Well, right now I'm actually passionate about this. Giving talks, helping people, helping as many students as I can to not have to pass through this. I want to eventually, with this, get to the point where I can be sustainable with this kind of stuff and then start my new studio. I have, as always, many billions of ideas, and I'm just waiting for them there to one day be able to do them. But for now, I'm focusing on helping others. Thank you.
Good luck. No, thanks.